So I'll just start by talking a bit about Ema Sofia. This is Ema Sofia Fonseca. She is an actor. She trained at Rose Bruford College in London and Chapito Circus in Lisbon. Since graduating, she's worked across film, TV, and stage. Her credits include the TV series O Club and Marquesa de Alorna. Apologies for my bad Portuguese pronunciation.
It's good, it's great.
And the upcoming feature film Daughter of the Earth. On stage, she was recently in Hedda Gabler, and she is currently preparing Noel Coward's comedy Fallen Angels. She's also performing at the moment in Lisbon in the immersive theatre play O Morto de Corvo, which translates as The Death of the Raven.
Yeah.
And actually, I went to see it a couple of months ago, and I have to say it was probably the best immersive theatre experience I've ever had, including up there with the likes of Punch Drunk productions in London. As well as acting, she is also a writer. Her most recent play, Immigrantes, is that how
Yeah.
you pronounce it? Got to the three finalists for the Portuguese Female Playwright of the Year award. Ema Sofia also teaches acting. In fact, she is the teacher of my weekly improv acting class. And we happen to live in the same town in Portugal, Ericeira, a little seaside town just north of Portugal. So we're actually speaking to each other from, I guess we live like 5 minutes apart, but it's easier to record in this format. So, Ema Sofia, thank you so much for joining us and for agreeing to be on the show.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for that wonderful introduction. I'm very happy
So,
to be here.
so we're going to distinguish a bit between the two art forms that you do. You're an actor and you're also a writer. Is there? Do you make much of a distinction between the two of those for yourself?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because it's very similar, I think, acting and writing. I don't know if you find the same thing, that because both of them require you to enter somebody else's psychological experience to an extent. Um, and even though I think acting, you kind of go into yourself a bit more, and writing, even though it comes out of yourself, you really get transported, I feel, into like another person's inner monologue, kind of. Um, but I think they're both rooted in the same thing. That's why a lot of actors are writers, and a lot of writers like acting and all of that, because it feeds from the same source, I guess.
And what do you think that source is?
I don't know. It's actually, I think it's I feel like the thing we all have in common, actors and writers and creators, is that we're observant, I guess. So we observe things in a way that other people might not, and we see details, and we just have a different way of looking at the world, I guess, and that is where the material comes from, is from, like, because all of the characters that I write about or that I perform, I always take them from real things that I've seen or experienced. So I think that's where it comes from. It comes from the world, and just being especially sensitive to it for some
That's
reason.
super interesting. So, do you remember when you first kind of noticed this sensitivity or first started to consider yourself an artist or think, I need to express myself and make art?
So this is really cliche. I hate saying this, but since I was a child, I've always had this thing where one thing I can remember before even art or creation was, because when we're children, everybody's an artist and a creator, right? We just all do it. We all play and we all create stuff. But I remember, particularly in my case, that I was an extremely sensitive child, which was awful for my mother. I remember she was just like, oh my God, you just cry all the time. And I was just like, so like, I don't know, I felt everything very strongly. And I remember that comparing to my siblings, I was like off the charts sensitive. And they were like, what's going on? You know, I would cry about the end of holidays, the beginning of school, my friend this, and I would just like, I'd be so sensitive. But I started writing stories really young. And I don't know if that's where it comes from, is when you have a lot of feelings and it just has to have some kind of outlet, I guess.
So were you writing before you were acting? I mean, I know all kids act, but before you kind of started to formally act, were you writing before that?
It's hard to remember because I started acting when I was 6. So my
Okay.
mum put me straight away in a drama. She was like, get that out of your... She was like, I don't want to deal with it. Just go to theatre classes. And so I started doing that when I was 6. And I remember writing my first story around that time as well. And I remember giving it to my family, like my extended family. And they were all like, oh my God, she can write like this already. I remember that being a thing. But I don't know if that was when I was 6 or 7. I don't know if it kind of happened all at the same time, I think.
Do you still have that story?
I don't think so. I remember what it's
Uh,
called though. I do
oh yeah.
remember what it was, yeah. Yeah.
What was it called?
It was about the moon. It was about the moon, and it was like the moon spoke to this little girl. I can't remember exactly now, I'm trying to, but I remember it was called a Lua Tribila. Tribila being
Oh,
the name of the moon.
okay.
And
Yeah.
that was yeah. I haven't thought about that in ages actually.
And what was it like your first acting classes?
Um, so I think I took to it very naturally, and I think I loved it. I really really loved it, but in a way that I don't think I was special in any way. I think I loved it like all children enjoy at that age, being allowed to be whatever they want to be and play, without restriction. Um, so yeah, I loved it. I really liked it.
So, and was that was here in Portugal where you did your first acting classes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And was there a point where you realized I really want to do this for a living?
Interesting question. So I think I don't remember a point where that happened, but I definitely know that when I got, so in Portugal, when you get to 12th year, like A levels, I guess it's A level time, you have to decide if you want to follow the arts, humanities, or sciences. And I was like, I want to be an actor. That's what I want to do. I want to follow. And so that's when I went to circus school when I was like 15. So I was already like, that's what I'm going to do at that time. So I think it was always, definitely since I was like 6, it's just been a certainty, which is something it's really lucky, I think, to know. And I think with artists, that is kind of a thing that we are lucky in, is that we kind of know what we like doing quite soon.
And going back to that first acting class, was that you weren't asking to be put in that? That was your mum had the idea, maybe this is a good way to channel her sensitivity.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was her, yeah.
And did you find that that actually helped you cope with that sensitivity? Or that's not really a good word because I don't know if you should cope with sensitivity, but it was
Yeah.
like it was a good outlet for it.
Yeah, I think I because when I was a child, I struggled, not weirdly, I guess maybe a lot of people, I struggled a lot with anxiety when I was really young, like when I was 6. I used to have fear of dying and stuff, and I used to get horrible nightmares, and I used to have like all these things. And I think theatre did help me a lot because I was able, as you're saying, I think I was able to just get it out. So definitely, yeah, I definitely think that it helped. It helped.
So, I mean, acting's quite a particular art because I guess it's fair to say you need other people in order to create your art, whether that's other actors to bounce off of, or, sometimes you're using a script, maybe sometimes you're not because you're improvising. But, you know, like talk us through how you relate to that, like, because presumably sometimes you have like a creative urge and maybe you can't, like for me as a writer I can just sit down and start writing. Of course you're a writer as well and you can tell us about that, but in terms of the acting part of your creativity, how do you sort of manage that?
I think that's the big reason that actors are known for being very frustrated people, like frustrated actors. It's like a very common trope. It's because we need to be like hired to do something, and we need, as you say, we can't just act at home. It doesn't work. It's a very collaborative thing, and because it's a collaborative thing, you need to be accepted into a job or something in order to do it. And I think a lot of actors get very frustrated because they go years without practicing their craft, and that's awful. And there's like casting directors that say a happy actor is a working actor, because you do not want to meet non-working actors because they're just so frustrated. And this to say that I think the way I coped with it, so when I had my daughter at 23, and that first year I was completely, she was on me all the time. I couldn't act. And the way that I cope with it is I immediately start creating the environment so that can happen. So I started an artists collective here in Ericeira. I started teaching as a way, and creating stories for these people that I taught, as a way to, keep the art around me and keep that collaborative feeling. So, and then that's where playwriting comes in as well, is you start writing your own work and putting that on. And I think a lot of actors do this. So they're like, okay, I haven't had a job in 6 months. I'm going to phone up my other actor friends and we're going to put something together ourselves, and we're going to get funding, and so that's a way, I think, to get round it, is to make sure that you are also creating your own work, so that you're not just waiting for it to fall on your lap, because it can get like that acting. You can just get into this very passive, frozen sort of state of, when is my next audition? I'm not getting an audition, and now what? And so being a creator is a way to bypass that feeling, I think.
And so when you write, does that also help to alleviate your, acting impulses in terms of expression of creativity? Are the two connected somehow?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's as I was saying, it's so similar in the sense that you're just able to dive into another world and be able to just live there and freely create. And I think that's what I love about writing, is there's no limitations. You're not thinking, oh, I need a rehearsal space, I need this, I need this. You can just create. You don't need to think about, what's the lighting going to be, what's this, how are we going to frame this, how, you just have to let it out. And that definitely is, yeah.
And when you write, do you mostly write plays?
Yeah, I didn't start off like that though. I started off writing novels that are never going to see the light of day. And then I went into plays because I love the idea of seeing it like get brought to life. And scripts have that magical ability. Obviously, a novel can also be adapted into a film or something, but a script has that thing of like, you're writing it and then it just gets elevated, and it transcends the medium and it goes into reality. And I love that so much, that when I discovered it, I was like, oh wow, this is so like. And also I find it, because dialogue is my thing. And so when I found out, oh, actually script is all about dialogue. I don't need to be like, how am I going to describe things? I can just go into the dialogue. So I love that. I love it.
So when you set out to write a script, do you have the intention or hope or wish that you're going to perform it or have it produced?
Yeah, I would lie if I said no.
And so tell us a bit about Immigrant. Your the play that we mentioned in the introduction.
So that play was written in like a week or 2 weeks, because I always write for competitions, like for writing competitions, because it helps me finish things and it gives me a deadline when I know, okay, I have to have this finished by this date. And so every year I try and submit new material, not so much in the hopes of, oh, I'm going to win this, because until I got to this finalist, I never even thought my writing would ever be seen in any way by official people. I kind of thought maybe I can get my friends to put it on and stuff, but not official. And so this play, this year I was so busy that I was like, oh, okay, I've got 1 week to write. What am I going to write about? And then I thought, I'm just going to write about the time that I was in England, saving up money for drama school. And it was a time of my life that I tried to forget, because it was kind of awful. So I kind of tried to forget about it, and I put it in a little box. And then when I had a week, I was like, I think I'm just going to write about that and see what happens. And I kind of took all this. So I was living in Essex at the time, and I was living with my ex-boyfriend in this house with his extended family. So we were like 6 people in a 3-bedroom house. They were all working in factories and like in this, and so I experienced this like Portuguese immigrant reality that is very, common in England or in France or in Switzerland, and how they lived, and it was a very like touching story, because one of his uncles, who he did everything to get his life back together, and he left all his family in Portugal and he went to England, and then when he finally got enough money to move out, he died in his room, and nobody found out for like 3 weeks, because factory workers are so anonymous that he kind of went missing for 3 weeks, and we found out that he just died in his room. And so this whole story was so impactful that I thought, and also really funny, like there were very funny moments that I had there, interacting with like Portuguese immigrants versus Essex locals, and like how that it's just so I had some really funny things as well. And so the play is like a comedy and a tragedy at the same time, and that's what it's about.
And so what are your plans with the script at the moment?
Well, it's going to be read at some festivals, and hopefully from there I'll be able to get it on its feet. I think now that it's had this this thing, because on the introduction that you said I was in the 3 finalists, I didn't get the award, but I got an honourable mention, and that's already a huge step to getting funded and put on. So that's what I really hope is going to happen.
Hope so, yeah. Sounds amazing. When you're writing scripts, do you get actor friends to perform it with you as you're in the writing and editing process?
Absolutely. Yeah, so important. Because there's dialogue that you think, oh, this is really snappy and interesting, and then somebody reads it and you're like, oh, no. So I definitely always have my actor friends involved.
Do you prefer to have a full first draft before you do that, or are you happy to like bring in scenes and like...
It's a good question, because I usually bring in scenes just because people don't really have time sometimes to read the full thing. But yeah, when I'm in my final editing moment, like days, I will try and get a full table read where I get all the actors together and do the thing from beginning to end. But as I'm writing it, I do like people to just read scenes for me so that I can see if they're working.
Really cool. And so in terms of, are you actually writing something new at the moment?
I am, yeah. Yeah, I'm writing something I'm very excited about. I can't really explain it yet, but I'm writing something that I'm definitely very excited
How
about.
how recently did you begin it?
Um, Probably about a month and a half ago, I think. Yeah.
And when do you expect to finish?
Well, I have to definitely have it finished by beginning of December.
Okay.
So that'll be done by then. I'm already like getting to the end of the first draft. So
And why are you so excited about it?
because this play that I'm writing is about the south of Portugal. It's about the Algarve, and there's a lot of poverty in the Algarve. And I lived there for a while, and I kind of want to talk about that. And I'm very excited because if it does get, if anything does come of it, then it means that we can start representing these different sides of Portugal. And there's like all this room now for new voices, especially of the newer generation, to start coming through and be able to talk about different experiences. Even like, Portugal has so much immigration from countries like Mozambique, Angola, all these places. And those those voices are not heard, they're not reflected in any way. And I think there's so much opportunity for that to start being seen. And I'm very passionate about where I can bringing that in. So showing just different sides of life here.
Amazing. And can you tell us a bit about what you're performing in at the moment, Mortal Cove?
Yes, so it's an immersive show in Estrela. It's in an old abandoned hospital building, which used to be the military hospital, and it's 25 rooms that have been transformed into this 1920s universe. And it's about Edgar Allan Poe and Fernando Pessoa, which Fernando Pessoa is I think he's one of the most widely translated Portuguese authors of all time. He's a poet as well as a novelist, and he's most well known as a poet. And so it's about him and Edgar Allan Poe. They didn't actually meet each other ever, but this creator imagined that they did. And it's immersive theatre. If people listening don't know what it is, it's a type of theatre where you can move around the space, you can follow the actors, you can touch props, and the whole space is created as realistically as possible around these characters, so that you get to experience their universe through smells, through sound, through movement, and it kind of transports you, which is different from a theatre where you sit down and you're like a passive watcher. With immersive theatre, you become an active part of the story in a way. And so I've been doing that for 3 years. So like it's sold out all the time. Like because it's very new in Portugal as well. Immersive theatre, and so it's been a journey to do that.
Yeah, we should also say for anybody who is in Portugal who's listening that you don't need to speak Portuguese to go, because
Exactly.
there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
It's all silent.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing experience. I really do recommend people go, and I'll drop a link in the show notes to where people can get tickets. With a show like that, an immersive theatre show where you don't have dialogue, how is that as an actor, and also being among the audience instead of them being down there in the dark?
I mean, I guess you saw how chaotic it can get, right? When audience can do whatever they want. I think the no dialogue part is insane. Like when I read the script and they were like, okay, and then this secret's going to be revealed, and this person's going to do this, and then I was like, how how are we going to do this with no words? But the truth is, the director, she's a very accomplished actress in Portugal, and she's very talented, and she was so good at portraying these scenes physically, that you just learn, and it's helped me so much in every other medium that I've done, especially for film. It's really helped to know how to physically command the space, and how to be meticulous physically, and so that's been great. And about the people being able to get close to you, it's really scary. Like at the start, it's like, oh my God, and people are crazy, they get close and they do stuff, but it's all about presence, which we're talking about in our classes sometimes. It's about presence. It's about learning how to create that bubble around you that people feel like they can't cross it, and it's something you learn. It's such an interesting skill, but we've had crazy people, nutcases.
I won't ask. And in terms of like, apart from the nutcasey people, it's also just scary as an actor, especially in the beginning, I guess, because why, you feel kind of vulnerable, or
because people, I mean, when you're used to having a stage, it's, first of all, you can't see, like when you're on a stage, you can't really see the audience because you've got all these lights pointing at you, so you can't really see their faces, and you've kind of got this protective barrier between you and the audience. When in an immersive show, a few things happen. First of all is people can walk out at any moment, so you've got real life feedback of how good your performance is, because people will just go, that's boring, and they leave. And then the dangerous part is that, we've had around 30 to 40,000 people coming to watch our show, and among 40,000 people, there's gonna be people that are not, and they can touch you if they want. Like, obviously that's not allowed, but the danger part is that they can, if they just want to at any point. So I think that's what you feel as an actor. You feel very unprotected. How do you say that? Unprotected.
Yeah, you say unprotected. Yeah.
Vulnerable.
Yeah. And you have in the room, you have sort of staff members who are there for your safety and for crowd management as well, right?
Yeah, but I mean, they also, because they're not, I don't know if I should say this, but they're
No,
like,
you don't.
They're quite young sometimes, so they don't really know what to do sometimes. We've had situations where they're like, because when they said, oh, you're going to have this security in the room, we were like, oh, we're going to have like these big security guys. Oh, that's going to be fine. And they were like, no, they're literally college graduates. So sometimes they are like, I have no idea how to deal with, we once had a guy come in on acid. I don't know if I can say that on here.
You can say what you want, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
you can swear, you can do whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so he he was doing all sorts of crazy things, like breaking down doors, falling asleep on characters' beds, and these, like, at the time there was this young boy who was like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know I haven't been trained to deal with this situation.
Right, wild. Oh, the joys. So apart from guys on acid, what do you find are your biggest challenges in creating as an actor?
Oh my God. Self-doubt all the time. Like battling your own self-doubt constantly. Being like, am I gonna live up to this? Am I gonna be good? And especially when you're in my stage, I think probably all stages of your career, but when you're in my stage where you're like breaking into the industry, there's this pressure of like, you have to be good, because if people come to see you, they have to be impressed. And so there's like a big pressure that you put on yourself of like being good, and then I always feel I'm not gonna know my lines. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna blank. It's gonna be too scary. It's gonna be overwhelming, and just getting over, because I love the rehearsal part. I love creating. For me, there's nothing there that's hard. I mean, no, obviously there's moments that's hard sometimes with directors and stuff. But the big challenge is like when it's coming up to opening night, believing in myself, believing in my work, that I'm enough, that all these things. That's the hardest thing.
Do you have a practice for how to manage that?
Yeah. So basically I write down my worst fears. I think a lot of people do this. I write down my worst fears and then I rationalize them in a way. So like I go, okay, my worst fear is that I go blank on stage. Even if I do go blank, what would I do? I do this, and it wouldn't be that bad. And so I try and write them down. And then also I do this weird thing before going on stage where I try and inhabit someone that I admire. So I just say that person's name. Imagine like, I can't remember her name now. I just thought Judi Dench, but that's not who I think of. But imagine Judi Dench. I just go, Judi Dench, and I go on stage. So like, I imagine someone that I think is like fearless and can take on huge roles and can do all these amazing things, and I inhabit them before acting, layering it. And then I do breathing. There's so much. I'd have to do so much, honestly, to get over. There's like so many steps to it. Yeah.
And so acting is also such a collaborative endeavor. And I'm curious about how you balance your own ideas and instincts about how you want to perform something or how a character would be and how to create a role, and then the input of others, like, your director or even other cast members or, whoever.
Yeah. It's fucking hard. It's sometimes, because what happens I think with the director is you either get them or you don't. You either speak the same language or you don't. And when you speak the same language, it's incredible because they direct you and you're like, yeah, I completely get what you mean, and it works so well and you build on each other. And sometimes with some directors, you're just like, I do not, like, they don't get you and you don't get them. And then they're telling you that their view of the character is different from yours. And at the end of the day, with certain directors, you just have to do what they want. You just have to say, okay, your view is this, I will do it like this. And that's so hard for me. Some actors love being directed to the T. They love when a director says, this is what your character does. I like a more collaborative approach where I can be like, I think this of my character. Maybe it's because I'm a writer as well, so I'm like, I think this. And sometimes, yeah, I think you it's really is learning how to collaborate with people when you do not share the same opinion. And that's like a tough lesson.
Can you get a sense of that in the audition process? Like sounding out how it's going to be, and then maybe you kind of go, maybe this isn't right for me.
Yeah, not always. Because directors do have like depends, but they do have like how do you say it in English? A reputation. So like sometimes oh yeah, this director, he knows what he wants. He's not really collaborative. But sometimes you get on really well in the audition. I mean, if you're chosen, it's because they liked you. But then it can go south. Like sometimes as you work, and then I come from a British drama school perspective, which is very different from a Portuguese drama school perspective, and so that kind of clashes sometimes.
Nice. So I kind of wanted to ask you like about, in terms of both acting and writing, do you feel like it's a choice for you to do these things, or is it something that you just have to do?
I think because there's that famous acting quote where it's like, if you can do anything else in your life, do that. Don't do acting. You know, there's like that famous thing. Sometimes I think it's quite dramatic. Like, if you could do anything else, because I think, I don't know, I could do other things. It's not like I could not breathe, I could not live. I think sometimes that's a bit too much. But I could not imagine myself being happy if I didn't do this. But I mean, I just think, yeah, sometimes I put it in perspective where there's people that, you know, they're living horrific situations in life and they don't have the privilege of being like, I'm an artist. They just have to survive. And then we're like, I could not live if I was not an actor. You know, sometimes it makes me feel a bit self-indulgent, but I do think, like, it's just not a choice. And sometimes if I could choose, I would love to have been born and love to be a doctor or a lawyer, and like things just being set, like everything's just there. You just, I mean, they have difficult jobs as well, but I think sometimes I hate that this is the thing that I love doing. So I guess it's not a choice then.
Is that because there's always a sense, no matter what you're doing, even when you're relaxing, of like, I've got to create something else.
Yeah. Do you feel that as well?
I do feel that, yeah. It drives me crazy sometimes. Because sometimes, you know, maybe you've even just completed something. It's like, no, I'm going to have a holiday for 2 days and sit on the beach. And then it's like, then that's when all the ideas start coming. Yeah. It's like an avalanche of ideas. You're like, oh, God, here we go again.
You have to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I think when you're a creative, there's always this like guilt feeling of relaxing and not doing anything. You're just like, you kind of feel like you always have to be also on and pursuing stuff. And I don't know, like, we were just talking about that before we started recording, just how it's so hard to relax. Because either ideas start coming again, or you're like, I should be doing.
Yeah, and there is the aspect of being self-employed and always kind of feeling like precarious and you never know where the next gig is coming from. But I also think it's something else. I think it's the ideas just come at you.
Yeah, they do. They do.
They're like, you're ready now, you're free, you don't have anything to do. I'm gonna so I guess this kind of, you've already answered my next question in a way, but like, let's imagine theatre and film and TV and drama was all suddenly banned worldwide. Would you still act if you couldn't have an audience? Get together in secret with your acting pals and...
Oh my God, yeah. Absolutely. I was thinking when you said act without an audience, I was imagining in my room.
No, you can do like the resistance of acting.
Okay, yeah, I would be part of that. Of that because amazing. I think it's as I said, I can't really imagine myself being happy doing anything else. So yeah. I would always pursue that as the best of my ability. I hope you say that.
100%. And do you have, you know, big influences in acting and in writing? People who you kind of are inspired by or return to?
Oh my God. It's always really hard when people ask this question because I have so many. There's not like one. But I'm very, acting wise, I'm very inspired by people like Olivia Colman. I love Helena Bonham Carter for different reasons than Olivia Colman. They are very different types of actors, but I love Helena Bonham Carter as well. I like Ray Fiennes, the kind of work that he does. Like, so there's definitely like a bunch of actors, British actors mostly, that I definitely go to their work for inspiration and for like just awe of their technique and how they do things. With writing, I love Jez Butterworth. I don't know if you know him, the playwright. I love his work. Absolutely love his work. I actually late to the game have been reading Sally Rooney, and I love Sally Rooney as well. Do you like Sally Rooney? Because a lot of people.
I have not read Sally Rooney. I read a few pages of Normal People, and it didn't grab me.
I think she's
But
very divisive.
she's divisive. She's divisive.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh God, what else? I read this play called Stoning Mary, which I loved, and I can't remember. And she really inspired me, and I can't remember what the name of the author is now. Anyway, Arthur Miller, obviously. I love Arthur Miller. Obviously, I'm just looking at my... Oh, and one of the author... Again, this is like completely mainstream author that I absolutely love is Isabel Allende. I just love her so much. And she's an inspiration to me. Just how she lives, how she tells stories, she's just absolutely incredible.
What is it about her and how she lives and how she tells stories that is so inspiring to you?
I just finished her memoir, The Sum of My Days, now, and it's just how because she is like magical realism, a magical realist. I don't know how you'd say that, but
Yeah.
she brings enchantment and magic to everyone she meets and her daily life. Like, she creates these incredible characters out of people that she knows, and she just has these lenses through which she sees the world that are just so... I just think she's like a literary genius in that way. I can't explain it more than
I've not read her, but I really must. Yeah, it's a good recommendation.
Like, her memoir is just beautiful. She writes this letter to a daughter, Paula, who died, and she writes this memoir for her, saying like, this is what's happened since you've died, and that's so beautiful.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe kind of final question. What role do you think that art plays in society today?
Oh my God. I think it's an interesting question because I think it plays different roles depending on the times. Like, somebody was telling me the other day, we're talking about how like in the 2010s and stuff, there was like a lot of horror films during that time. There was like this upsurge in like horror films that were going into the cinema, because horror films were always quite marginalized, and like in the 2010s they kind of blew up, and you got all these franchises and stuff. And someone was telling me, oh, that's because at that time like things were kind of okay, like things were kind of okay in the world, in the Western world, I guess is what I'm talking about, and so people wanted to go into like, you know, horror and like heavy things and all of that, as a form of escaping. And now I feel like people cannot bear to see, like, people need to escape. They do not want such heavy material anymore, and I could see that like even on just browsing through Netflix or Disney Plus, the kind of material that there is, it's quite light and very like almost very, you know, Bridgerton, things like that. Like, it's very romanticized and beautiful, and it's not so gritty anymore. And I think that's because people are struggling, and so we need it to be, you know, escaping into this romantic alternative. So I think it's always escapism. It always provides you a place to kind of reflect on your feelings by seeing them reflected at you. So I think, and then, oh God, it's just such a complex question for me, because it serves so many, like for me, it serves so many purposes. Sometimes it's to escape, sometimes it's to reflect, sometimes it's to inspire, and then stories are obviously there to guide us as well. So it serves as a guidance. That's how we teach each other. That's where they come from originally. You know, you say, that snake bit me, don't go to that. So we share stories to teach each other, right? So yeah. I think there's so much And I always think when people say, oh, artists, they shouldn't get paid because they just do what they love or whatever. Like some people say, oh, artists, especially in Portugal, they shouldn't get paid. They're like lazy people. But in the pandemic, like if there was no music or streaming platforms or films or like books to read, that's where art was there to comfort everybody in that like hard time. So I think that was such a complex answer. I'm sorry.
No, that was beautiful. Thank you. Well, Ema Sofia, thank you so much for being here with us today. In the show notes, I'll drop links to where people can find out more about your work and follow you, and as I say, the plays that you're currently in and the upcoming plays when those links are ready. And yeah, I hope we can chat again another time. It was really lovely having you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was great chatting to you.
Thank you again. And yeah, to the audience, please do go and follow Ema Sofia, and please do also like and subscribe to the podcast and comment your thoughts because it's very helpful. So yeah, thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.